Welcome everyone to Awesome Friday. It's time for some awesome FileMaker training. I'm Richard Carlton here, creator of fmtraining.tv, where we create great live stream video training every day at 1 o'clock, as well as some really awesome video courses. And so today we're going to kind of wrap up our conversation about the 19 release. I mean, it'll obviously be an ongoing conversation, but in terms of us really focusing on it in any sort of real way, really we'll want to do that this week, and then make sure we take any questions and answers that we might have. And so once again, welcome to Friday. So we do have a little bit of news and some various things I want to go ahead and cover up front. So first off, if I can pop this open. So once again, reminder, if you have questions about live streams, questions about anything related to what we're doing, definitely shoot us an email to support. If you have suggestions, do that as well. We have been talking to quite a few of you over the last several days for a variety of reasons, and I'm going to kind of talk about that a little bit. It's been fine. As a reminder, if you need help beyond training, you want a little bit of one-on-one help from a FileMaker coach, then you want to go ahead and reach out to Support RC Consulting, because you can get a FileMaker coach that will share screen with you and help you work through issues for about half the price of what you can get a regular FileMaker developer. That's pretty cheap. It's pretty awesome. So that's one thing. And then the outstanding issues we've been running into lately, I'm just going to bring these up down here. I guess I could make it bigger and I guess zoom in on it a little bit. But the idea is we sent out our FileMaker 19 video training, and so you should have it, right? If that makes any sense. You should have got it yesterday. And if you know, it's the maintenance release, so if you have an annual subscription and the subscription is current, you will get an email from us saying, here's your new version of FileMaker, here's your new version of the training, etc. Now, a couple things have come up. One is that we sent some really stupid emails without the license key in the email. We sent a corrective email without that, or with the license key in there. That being said, a couple things that are coming up. One is that with the FileMaker release, started with 18, but I guess I should just cover this kind of low-hanging fruit here, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this. This is what the distribution of FileMaker is looking like these days. And so what this is that this is a copy of FileMaker 64-bit for Windows. There is no 32-bit anymore. This is the standard Mac installer for FileMaker Pro. There is no Pro Advanced, only FileMaker Pro. And so basically back with FileMaker 18, they combined Pro and Advanced together, and then they just called it Advanced. So there was no Pro. So that's FileMaker Server right here. That's the install for Mac, install for Windows. For Mac, you have to be using 1014 or 1015 on Server. For Windows, you have to be on 2016 or 20, whatever they are, the two latest versions of Server, or Windows, right? So Windows Server. Jacob Taylor, are you there? He'll probably pop in here and correct me. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but it was like the data center release. And so I haven't, there's so many versions of FileMaker Server, or Microsoft Windows Server out there that I've lost track of it. I haven't even done an install of the latest version yet personally, because we've been so busy doing other training. Now, the part that really screwed people up besides the name changes is this license certificate. This is no longer does Claris distribute a license key, 5 digits and a dash and 5 digits and dash. It's the way they did it for 30 years. They finally changed that process, and now instead of you having the license key, you're just going to, when you install FileMaker, it's going to ask you to identify this file. You will point at this file. This is just a text file, and it will read this file. And I've got a couple people who are double clicking the file and trying to open it, and they're frustrated because it doesn't do, I'm not sure what it says, what they think it should do, but it don't do whatever they think it's supposed to do. And I'm not making fun of you, any of you here. Basically, if you understand how installers work, DMG for Macs, EXE for Windows, and as you run through that process, it will ask you for this file. Now, that's one thing. The other thing that's interesting is because we went to this modified process of how we're selling our video training. What we're doing here is that we actually have a license key. So you have the license key that you copy and paste that, you put that into your video player. We've talked about that a couple times. We've had 3 or 4 people who are legitimately stuck and don't. One person actually mistook. They tried to take the license certificate file and use it on the video training, and then they took the video training license key and tried to stick it in Pro 19. And even though those are separate sections in the email confirmation, I don't know, I think there's a pre-built expectation that FileMaker has been doing license keys like that little string for so long. You expect that. The problem is they did change that last year on 18. So it's very consistent with 18. If you're going from 16 or 17 to 18 or 19, then I would understand why you were getting stuck. So Kristian, are you ready to do an awesome demo for us?
I think that I'm ready to do an awesome demo,
right.
courtesy of Andre.
All right, so you have to show your screen, and then we will, because all I see is you and your dog right now. All right, cool. So Kristian, what did Andre do? So this is like some sketchy dude, and we've had Andre Day before. He's had a whole day before. And I said, Andre, if you have any new samples, show us. So these are the new samples. What do we have?
Yeah, this is from the FM19 gang. I think Andre is labeling us. So first of all, I switched things to not dark mode for everybody, which it's making my screen really bright, but I wanted to make sure if we switch to the script workspace, everyone could see what's going on. But Andre sent us a couple cool little tricks, and with each one, I'm going to walk through. I'm going to show you what Andre showed us, and I'm going to offer a little commentary on them because I don't know where everyone's skill level is. Some people, this is going to make total sense, and other people, the basic concept of what we're showing off might not necessarily make sense unless we chat about it. So since I don't know where everyone's at, I'll go over that. So the first one is this screen right here where he basically has a button that changes color. Okay, so what? So what's going on here? The backstory is, for those who are newer to FileMaker, that one of the ways that we generally indicate things in FileMaker, in coding in general, is that things are either true or false, they're on, they're off, they are or they are not. You can think about it as having current or not current. One or any value in FileMaker always represents a true value, or yes. And the off value, as he has it indicated here, or the null, is a little more complicated. And I would be curious, people can throw their own comments in here. You can use 0 as a false value, but you can also use empty. That is nothing in here. That won't work for this demo right here. We'll get to that. But they do different things. But understanding kind of that fundamental principle of you get to certain junctures and either have a yes, we're going this way, or no, we're not going this way. One of the easy places that we've seen this that's also quite powerful is the use of something referred to as ID constant or 1. In fact, in the next screen, we'll see that a little bit more. So Andre's got this spot here where we've got a field. As I click this, you'll notice that it toggles between 1 and 0. Using that 1 and 0, he's able to use some conditional formatting on this button. I'm going to right-click on it and go to conditional formatting. And you can see here, when on-off equals 0, it's red. When on-off equals 1, it's green. This is also referred to as a Boolean value. Again, basically 1 or 0 or 1 or nothing. Now, typically the way that I've written this, and this is where Andre's thing is actually pretty neat, is I'll have something like this. I'll write an if statement. If value, whatever that might be, equals 1, then set to 0, else set to 1. Okay? Not the hardest thing in the world necessarily to write, but what Andre has pointed out is there's actually a faster way to write that and make it work. And you can do this absolute, the name of the field, -1. And let's look at how that works, okay? And we'll talk about what each of those functions are as we get there first. So first we're going to do absolute. Well, what is ABS or absolute? I'm going to show you here in the simplest terms. If I put in a whole number, 1, 2, 5, I'm simply going to get that number. However, if I put in a negative integer, I'm going to get the whole value of it. And this is really useful. I had a customer, for example, who was going to import data, and he had a section of costs. Everything in that section was a cost, but sometimes he wanted to enter them as negatives, and sometimes he wanted them as positives. And at the very bottom, he needed a sum of those values. Well, obviously, if you add negatives and positive values together, you don't get a whole value. So by using the absolute, it's really nice to bring there. So what is Andre doing here? Let's look at the field. Why don't I see? There we go, on and off. So right now, this value equals 1, okay? And if I subtract 1 from 1, I'm going to get 0. Now, what happens if I subtract 1 from 0? Well, I would get -1, but because we're using absolute, we just get 1. And so basically by using this function right here, it gives you the ability to toggle that Boolean value between 1 and 0. So essentially, this is just a way of writing the if statement in a shorter fashion. If you want to write the if statement, there's nothing wrong with it. I'd be curious. One of the questions I was going to ask Andre, if he feels that there is a value to this other than it just being a little bit less stuff to write. I guess technically, of less code, it could theoretically be slightly faster if you had tons of these running over and over again. But kind of cool there. I don't know, Richard, did you want to add anything on this one right here before I go to the next one?
No, I'm doing a tech support for Bunny on YouTube right now, so we're good.
Perfect. I saw that bouncing, and I was trying not to look at it, so I know that you're on top of that. So again, for those of you who are a little bit newer, just understanding this idea that you can use 1 to be true values and 0 to be false values. And I want to show you this in the data viewer a little bit more. Again, I think the data viewer is one of our most powerful tools, if not the most powerful one we have in here. And so you do things like, how can I show this if it's true? If 1 true, it's always nice coming up with an example at the top of your head, false. Okay, so 1 is true, 0 is false. Again, that's how FileMaker sees these things. That's how coding generally works. Look at empty. Empty is also false. Now, this isn't in Andre's demo, but this is really worth noting. Those 0 and empty, that's what quote, quote represents, are both false. They don't work the same way. And that's why I was kind of curious to see if anyone, how they interact with these. I will use 1 and 0 if I have a relationship where I want to toggle between two things. I want to switch between a 1 or a 0. But if you, a lot of times the way that I will check to see if something is false is empty. Now, is 0 empty? That's not true. That is to say it is full, but empty is empty. So it's just important to understand how those can work a little bit different, but 1 is always going to be full.
All right, so let me interject a little moment here. I'm going to switch you to part of a window. I'm going to go to a browser, hopefully not screw this up. I'm going to look up a term for all of you. For those of you who don't know about this, all the advanced people know about this. So the term is null. Null, basically in mathematics, basically is, it can be a 0 value, but most of the time in the world of software, null is not 0. 0 is not null. 0 is actually a number. Null, you should think of null as the vacuum of space. Nothing. It's nada, nothing. 0 is a number, okay? It may not have a lot of value for you, but it's a number. Null is not a number. It's the vacuum of space. And so when you're doing FileMaker or programming in general or JavaScript or PHP or whatever you're doing, understand, and Jacob Taylor could probably write a book about this crap because I think he would probably dreams about this at night. But in fact, watch for him to chime in on Twitch here. I'm just going to watch it explode over here. But null, it's important to understand it's not the same as 0. And so there'll be times when it kind of can be treated that way, but just understand it's not the same. So just really an important definition. Like when we talk about an array of numbers, right? That's what a repeating field is, an array of numbers. A lot of stuff that we deal with in the world of FileMaker, because it kind of lends itself to programming and math and science and stuff, then there's some, cross-pollination terminology that I can expose you to. This is a really good one to know. You almost will never see the word null. I don't think Claris has ever uttered that word ever, unless you talk to their engineering team and it's off the record. Then they will talk about stuff like that, or like Todd Geis or the really advanced people like that will mention this in advanced development. But at the beginning, intermediate level, there is, they don't talk about this. So anyway, let's see. So Elza says it's a cool trick. Andre Yeah, and Andre points out a really great point in that while we could talk about FileMaker 19, let's just get real about this just for a second. Can I be real with everyone? Can I be real with you? Let's be real here. So let's be real, okay? The difference between FileMaker 18 and 19, some bug fixes, support of newer operating systems, a couple really cool new things that will really open some interesting doors. But at the core of what this thing is in terms of the functions, the calculations, the script steps, this product is 99% the same as the previous one, and the previous product is 99% of the previous one. And so, of course, that would lead you to think that, oh, I shouldn't update. That's not my point. You should update because you want the bug fixes. Because the underlying guts of it are modernized from 17 to 18 to 19. The underlying modernization, security improvements, and all this sort of stuff are very, very important. But the stuff that I have to teach you doesn't, there's so much in the core functionality. That's what Andre's saying. He's saying that there's so much in the product under the hood without even talking about new versions, like all those get functions, right? We could have a conversation, take 2 or 3 get functions and spend an hour on it. We'd be here for the next 4 or 5 months. Never mind script steps and then when you combine this stuff to make techniques. So there's a ton to learn under the hood without using any new tech whatsoever. And that's a big part of my job is to frame the importance. I think like the add-on module is a huge deal. I think for advanced senior people, once again, and we're talking about the senior people over here on the right side, I'm going to put that down there for the moment. These people over here, there's a lot of stuff there that's really important because these people pretty much know all the 99% and they're really interested in that like 1%. And then maybe it's not 99%, maybe it's 95%, 5%, but if you want to learn the FileMaker platform, if you learned everything that 16 or 17 did, you would know everything you need to build a FileMaker solution. Now, if you want to do advanced things like connect it to QuickBooks or connect it with a API or connect it with some JavaScript stuff, then maybe you want that extra 5 or 10% that's new. But at the end, so I'm not saying don't upgrade. That's not the point. The point is, though, is that in terms of knowledge base, there is so much here. Once again, we talk about this. A lot of you miss these broadcasts. You know, my goal is to teach you what you need to know and not lie to you about it or pretend it's something it's not. There's a lot in here. This product is 30 years old, and they don't deprecate too much stuff. People are losing their minds about the runtime going away, but they don't deprecate too much. They really don't. So a couple video formats or photo formats have been dumped. If any of you knew what the Target 2000 is, that's not in there anymore. I think they're trying to get rid of EPS in the future because most people don't really do EPS in FileMaker. I think that they have to support that, and they're trying to simplify it and QA it. And so, now if they chop a feature out and you really want it, you should send them an email. Once again, Andre did a great job here. So this is Andre from YouTube, Andre Knudsen. Andre Knudsen, pretty awesome guy. Did he have any other points there? No reason. Yeah. So he's just talking about there's a lot to explore. And then he said something there. I don't know enough SQL to know what he said, but he said is not null in. I don't think he's asking the question. I think it's probably more of a statement. Is not null looks like a command function in SQL, execute SQL. So once again, so we're back to that null conversation of being a real thing. So cool. All right. Off you go, Kristian.
Cool. So just the last point kind of on that. If you all ever open up your data viewer, and you have the right panel open over here, and you click on the little steps here, you can sort your functions by type. And Nick mentions this, I think it's in the lane design video, that this is a great place to just come and learn stuff. For example, he's really into the design functions. You can find some really neat stuff in here. But this is a great way of kind of looking at them. So every once in a while, I will actually come in here and do a topic and kind of look something over. I've even had members of my team teach me about things I don't know. For example, when I have a list with duplicate values, I've used custom functions written by other members of the RCC team and the FileMaker community to remove those. And I was going over a problem with some of our team to see how they would solve it. And one of my engineers asked me why I don't use the unique function. And so I learned from one of my own team members, new to us, that there's already a basic FileMaker function to use what I was using a custom function to solve. So really cool stuff you can look at over here. And yeah, I think that's a really good point, Andre, here, that basically there's different ways to solve the same thing. And knowing what those functions do is really useful. It basically puts more tools in your tool belt. So the next one he has, I think, is similar to some of the other topics we have. If I'm understanding what he wanted to show off here, is rather than having like a drop-down list where you select multiple values or something else, you could simply have checkboxes. And I'm sure we can share this demo file, but the idea here is, okay, I want to see all the fruits. Maybe I want to see all the excellent fruits. Maybe I just want to see the good fruits. Then I can use this. Maybe I want to see the fruits and greens. And then if you select none, it shows all of them. So that would just be something to make sure. Do you want none to be all, or do you want none to be none? And the way that he is making this work is pretty neat. Over here in just a few things, he's got category 1, and he's got a global calculation, which I'm curious to see how that would work on the server. But basically, if it's empty, self, it puts a 1 in there. Otherwise, it uses itself. And let's go look at the other side of the relationship. So now we're going to go to produce. And similar to how Nick solves things with his char, his Empower search, we've got a list of 1, meaning everything is true, and otherwise the category that it is. And so if you have nothing in one of these right here, you're going to get a 1. And because every single one of these values has a 1 in it, which I can show you, I'm just going to change this real quickly to his category 1. I don't know if that's going to be tall enough for us to see. There it is. So you can see the 1, and then underneath that would be the actual category. Okay. Oops. There we go. So just a cool other way of kind of filtering your portal. And I want to be careful to use the word filter, because one of the things I do like that Andre is doing here is he's avoiding a portal filter. So sometimes we'll use this word interchangeably, but if at all costs, if you can, make your portals use relationships to quote unquote filter them. Nick shows this off very well. It's a common question that comes up. Most of the time when customers come to me and go, well, I couldn't use a relationship because look at the calculation of my filter. How would I make a relationship off of that? I don't know that I've found very many cases ever where I can't actually turn it into a relationship. Sometimes it's just really hard to figure out how you would make that happen. But filters sometimes require a refresh on the portal. They're slower. Generally speaking, the relationships are they're fast. It's the most powerful part of the database you can use. So I'm going to go ahead and jump on to his next one here. And over here, he's actually got something that I use with the client. This is actually really useful. So basically what he's saying here is that most images are references of the image only, and they don't need to be a full size. The get thumbnail function lets you reduce the image so the database doesn't get bloated. And using what we learned the other day, he's getting the get container attributes to show us some of that information. So I can't say with 100% certainty, but I have gone and grabbed some images off the internet that should have a higher resolution. I'm going to drop those in here to show you what's going on. So we're going to take another bunny picture, keeping on the bunny theme, and he's got a script trigger on here. So I have questions that come up sometimes where people are trying to reverse engineer something and they're not sure what's happening. They've looked at the field level and they can't find a calculation, so they're not sure how something is working. If you ever see this little badge on something, that is an indicator for you that there is a script trigger on this object. This one down here tells me that this layout has a script trigger. So if I click on here, I right click, I go to get set script triggers, I can reverse engineer to see that he's using a script called scale image. And let's go look at that. This actually piggybacks on some of the stuff we had done the other day. Whoops, there we go. Well, that's weird. You know what? I switched to, give me 1 second. I turned off dark mode right before the meeting. I think FileMaker has to be restarted. A little technical difficulty there.
Yeah, news to me. I haven't switched to dark mode yet. My life is complicated enough without trying to change my...
I highly prefer it. I had switched out of dark mode to make the scripting easier to see, but I hadn't opened the script workspace up since doing it. There we go. So everyone, it's white now instead of black, so you can read it a little bit easier. But here's what he's got going on. He's got this set field. So as you drop something into this field, picture container, then he takes just a few things, picture container, the same thing. It sets itself. So it's kind of like a self-calculation, but he uses the function get thumbnail of itself but changes the resolution of the picture. Pretty neat. Then, using what we learned the other day together, or at least I learned it together, get container attribute all, and that allows this to be displayed off of to the left-hand side as a global variable. That's what he's setting there, and then he refreshes the object so that we can see the information that's going on there. So again, pretty cool. You take an image, you drop it in here, and it goes ahead and it reduces that size for you, so that you're not bloating a database. This is huge for a customer of mine who works in real estate. Well, he works in land valuation, and every record in the database has an image of the property that comes from the MLS system, and he has hundreds and hundreds of thousands of records in there. These images that are really useful to him in the database, if we didn't reduce their size, would cause extreme bloat to the file. So pretty cool little neat one there. I think we had one more. This one I do have a comment on, but the way that he's got this working, I'm going to read his text specifically. The auto enter calculation is in the database field. This is useful if you have headings that could be really long. So let's watch what happens. Will shrink when length is over 33 messages. So if I have a very long header to display, I'm not sure if I'm over 33 yet, but I feel like I'm close. This will reduce the text size. There you go. While if it's short, I'm going to make it larger. So let's look at what's happening here, and then I want to add one little tidbit. And this in no way is to knock down anything that Andre's got here, but it is something that I've run into in the
that's
past.
not what you said earlier. You said Andre was a piece of dirt and he was worthless.
I never said that. No, I said he's the leader of the FM19 gang, and I would never want to insult a gang leader. So over here we have a long string, and so we're gonna open this up, and I'm gonna break this down a little bit just so I think that it's slightly easier to read. Okay, so the first line is our test. So most of you, I imagine, have written some version of these. So this is a test. If it's true, then we run result 1. Else, we've got what's called the default result. I'm probably going to spell default wrong live. Perfect. And basically, if the test is not true, then we run the default one. And what this says is, hey, what is the length of self? If you all recall from the other day, length will count the number of characters in the text. Self is the field that you're typing into. If it's above 33, then we're going to use a function called text size and reduce the size of the field to 12. This triggers the moment you click out of the field. If it's less than 33, or yes, if it's less than 33, then it's going to use text size 18, okay? Now, one comment I want to add to this, and really, I don't think it diminishes Andre's example whatsoever, but I had a situation with a customer where, I've had a couple situations actually, where we had a text box that could only fit so much space. And so my customers are like, well, Kristian, can you just have it tell the user if they've exceeded the space that's available, that, you know, it's too long? And I said, sure, we'll figure out how many characters can fit into that space. We have a control over the font and size. We're not going to be dealing with differences in font and size. So I should be able to figure out, just as he's done up here, that 33 characters should fit in the header. But here's the reality. Not all letters are equal. If you look at the I up here, the I takes up significantly less width than the Z or the S or some of the other letters. And so again, I think for Andre's example, this works great. And it's useful to see how you can make these work. But that is just one little gotcha I'd throw up, because I've run into that trying to simply count the number of characters in something to figure out how much can fit in a space can get you. A header is probably easier, because maybe this could theoretically fit more than 33, but the idea is it can only fit 33 of some of the wider letters, or you know that you're going to have kind of a mixture there. But cool thing. So I think kind of what Andre wanted to get across, I'm guessing, and feel free to chime in here, Andre, is that there are a number of functions available to us that we may or may not already know. The absolute function. This one, I think, is not necessarily so much functions, but setting those calculations, though. He does have his ifs. He does have the list. Okay. a refresher, I think Nick probably went over this, but something that I use a lot, you may have seen it in my demo file, but I didn't know about for the longest time, is that when you use the list function, you can create a list by separating them with this symbol right here. This is kind of embedded in Andre's file, but this is really useful. I'll show this to you on the data viewer here real quick. And again, it's in my file from yesterday. So let's say I want to make a list of people. So I can do, I'm just going to null that out. I've got value 1. And then I come down here and I do value 2. And I can make lists with the list function. I don't know if this has a theoretical limit, but I've never run into it. Oops. There are other functions, for example, that you can do this with that it's not super obvious. One that I find to actually be really powerful is the substitute command. So many of you have probably used the substitute command where you can have something like Kristian Olsen, and then you can search for the, what do I got in my name? The N, and replace the N with, let's do capital. Okay, and you can see down here, I've swapped those out. Now, something that you might not know, similar to the list function, is that you can do this more than one time without writing a second substitute. Okay, so let's take that, let's copy it, and let's substitute out the I's for capital Z's. Pretty cool. So you can do this up to 999 times in this list here. So if you have large blocks of text that you need to do substitution outs, then that's really useful. Hey, Richard, Andre's saying that he sent you an updated file that has one more slide, but this is the last one that I got from you. And
yeah, that's the one from yesterday afternoon. So yeah, if there's another one, I don't know about it. That one. So anyway, but yeah, no, I'll try to find that for everyone, but that's the one that's the one. If you was sent it from yesterday afternoon, that was the last one I had, at least in my list. Okay, so all right, so this is going to be a very temporary. Okay, here we go. So this is the stupid cat. For those of you who see the cat, this is the cat, one of our rescue kitties, and he is all over the place. Oh, and out of here, go away. Sorry about that. So back to Slack. Yeah, we will have to find out where he put that file. I've got the link going for everyone right now. So I'm going to post the link to the Andre file. From today, there's a link there, and then the same thing from, this is called Just a Few Things. Yes, I know. Let's see. All right. So I posted these two. If he gives me a new file, I will chase that down and swap it out and post it. Maybe he sent it to my email, but when I'm in the broadcast area, I'm not at my computer with my email. So those are totally different things. Questions from anyone?
I found it. It looks like though they were both at noon yesterday, one is slightly different. You want me to show us last slide here?
Yeah. How many? You have a 5? Is that what you have? 5 on it?
There's one more on this other file.
Okay. All right. Well, I will have to check that myself, see if it's here. Yeah. Go ahead and do that.
Now, keep in mind, I just opened this, so we're gonna learn this together. So the portal have arrow key navigation, up arrow previous portal, arrow down next portal. Or shift arrow up first record, shift arrow down last record, spacebar select desired record, shift left mouse click select desired record. High condition is base compares the current ID and the global list of IDs. Quick find will perform a character if no one. Okay, so of course it's going to be one that's a little bit more complicated. So let's take a look here. Apple. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of like the quick finds that we've seen before. Very cool, very cool. Now I don't see your up and down arrows on here, Andre. Do I need to click something to see those? Arrow up, previous portal. Arrow down, next portal. Shift up.
All right, yeah. So this one right here that I have is the same one you have there. With the last one's this quick find up and down. So yeah, basically, if you use the up and down, are they not working?
I don't have any arrows on mine.
Well, no, you use the up and down cursors on your keyboard, I think. Is that what he's doing, or is he doing something else?
Let me see. Up and down previous portal. Oh, is he saying just that you can move up and down this with the arrow keys? Shift up. Okay, so I think he's just mentioning that if you're in a portal, you can navigate through it with the arrow keys. But if you hold shift and you go to and you hit up, it'll take you to the top of the portal. And if you hold shift, it'll take you to the bottom of the portal.
That's cool.
Spacebar selects the current record. Oh, look at that! So he's got the little checkbox going on there. I usually do that with the
you know what? You know he's. This is excessive showing offness. The YouTube hoodies, the YouTube gang is getting up in the Twitch gang's grill about how awesome they are.
Yeah, and you know, Richard, this makes me think of a topic that, let's see if the audience would be interested in it. A common request that's come up to me with customers is being able to move things up and down in portals, either through buttons or through other means. If that's something that the Twitch crew is interested in, I could show a demonstration on that. I know that that's pretty neat to be able to do that. One other thing too that's come up from, I think, Kristian Jesse, who's in here, is if you start to become a bit of a code junkie, and Andre, your spacebar thing here is what reminds me of this. If you start to become a bit of a code junkie, you might find that putting your hand on the mouse while you're scripting is something that you would prefer to avoid. But one of the most common things you do when you're scripting is to do a set field or a set variable. So I'm going to show off just two techniques here for those of you who are starting to get better with the script workspace. One is that basically all of the script steps, if not all of them, are camel case. So if I type SF, it will pull up the set field. If I hit the return key, it will select it. Now, at this point, most people take their cursor and they click on this with their mouse. But there's a hidden technique. The space bar will actually open that up. Arrow keys allow you to toggle these, and the space bar will select it. So you can actually sit and do all this without actually ever touching your mouse if you wanted to. Andre, your space bar for selection over here reminded me, because that's one of the only other places that I actually kind of use that for. So that's my cookie for the day.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And we are, of course, needing to land the airplane here because we're running low on gas. So it is top of the hour again. So appreciate it. You guys have a great weekend. I'm Richard Carlton at fmtraining.tv. We'll catch you on Monday. Not Saturday or Sunday, but Monday. We'll take 2 days off. All right? Thanks.
Guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Try to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap. Stands in, throws it left for Amendola. Reaches up and snaps a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Falls slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.